Long ago, Alola was once ruled by a tyrant king, one who took advantage of nature itself and nearly destroyed Alola. But thanks to the intervention of the 4 great guardians of nature, the Tapus, the worst timeline was prevented. Though this was only possible through great sacrifice and the long hidden war of Alola. Howdy there, I'm Krillik, and I'm not alone in this adventure today, as I've invited an avid enjoyer of Alola and its lore to join me today as we have a Mazed Dragon as our special guest throughout this presentation. I have brought in the substitute teacher. I have rolled in the TV on the stand, and he is even wearing a lab coat to join us with that today. I'm geeked out by it.
Exactly. I've got a lab coat. Wait, how'd you go? Howdy there, I'm a Mazed Dragon. I do Pokemon theories over on YouTube, and wait, what was the right? Hi, nice to meet you.
No,
nice
that's it. There's literally nothing else to it. I literally, it's howdy there, I'm Krillik, and then I jump into like the topic. Or lately, I keep forgetting to do it, but I should be doing like howdy there, I'm Krillik, connecting the world through Pokemon, or connecting our world through Pokemon, whatever the heck I end up like trying to land on, because yeah, trying to just attach these things, but I'm sure most people probably know of you already.
They should.
At the very least.
Who doesn't? I'm
point.
famous. this is going to come to bite me. Oh.
God, and that's going to be the funniest thing. If you're from Dragon's side of things, yeah, these videos are going to be longer. These videos are going to be just more in, like, just not in depth, because Dragon reaches that same level of depth if you're unaware of Dragon. But the difference here is his is like a knife. I'm the hammer that hits everything. So like it is that is the biggest difference, I would dare say. And before we start rambling, because we just spent like the last hour and 15-ish minutes just chatting it up, we should probably actually talk about what this is. So something that is important to establish as a part of everything that we have today is that we need to talk about the past of Alola. Now, this all actually begins way, way, way back, because there were actually technically 2 wars of Alola, one of them being the Battle of the Tapus against Solgaleo and Lunala. Those 2 descended from Ultra Space, they came in, and ultimately they wiped the floor with the Tapus, to our knowledge. We don't actually know the full circumstances. Maybe it was a back and forth fight that took time. All we know is that Solgaleo and Lunala had the power to win, but instead of wiping out the area or being an actual threat, they granted a sense of safety to Alola. They gave these Z crystals to all of our Tapus, allowing them to achieve a new level of power, and then also made them into babysitters.
Yeah, so the history of Unova, I'm stupid.
Unova, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you.
I just did a video on Unova.
It's only your favorite region.
Anyway, the history of Alola is pretty extensive, but in the games themselves, it's not fully told like the other regions. While the legendaries do pull into the history of it, of course, a lot of it is still found in the books, and then the rest is mostly shown through small pieces of dialogue, or in Ultra Sun and Moon, it's shown through, I guess, the Ultra Squads, and they kind of talk a little about it, but in reality, the stuff with what we will talk about is not really shown outside of books and small map descriptions, other tiny details, and that's pretty normal in Pokemon's case as well. They usually like to hide the more complicated stuff in the tiny pieces for us to piece together, and while at the same time being a little vague about it, and I think that's on purpose, to make sure that no hard lines are ever pulled, especially with times, and I'm looking at you about 3,000 years ago.
About 3,000 years ago. What was it? How many different things have happened 3,000 years ago?
Boy.
It's Melmetal.
Melmetal. It was the Abyssal Ruins, I think, is one of them.
Yep. Darkest Day.
AZ's weapon.
Yep. Oh, wait, sorry. No. Darkest Day wasn't 3,000 years ago, was it? It was 2,000 years ago.
No.
I might be wrong.
No. I think it was 3,000 years ago as well.
Okay.
Honestly, I will say it. It's Darkest Day happened 3,000 years ago. If it isn't, Sumi. No, wait, 3,000 years ago. It's 3,000 years ago.
Oh, there we go.
I knew it.
Well, like, there's just so many different things because, you know, and this goes into, like, the timelines, right? And this is what makes even just looking at Alola so difficult, looking at everything so difficult, because there are things, like you're saying, they're so small, and yet they're still tied between all of these regions. They're all such, even if it's one word or one sentence throwaways, like AZ in Legend ZA, literally saying, "Ah, yes, I remember the darkest day of Galar when the sky was blotted out." Literally, some of the last things he says, and it's just like, yeah, this is an important moment, but like, you're telling me just this one sentence?
Yeah,
or we look at the
if we connect AZ again, like in Hoenn, all of a sudden, like even in the games, we know that he planted a tree there, and then it's also stated that he was there when Rayquaza Mega evolved. Okay. That's never touched on again. That's cool, I guess.
Nope.
But yeah, we're left with the tiny pieces, and usually we like to piece them together to, well, in my case, I like to piece them together to create very, very normal theories. Very, very,
100%.
yeah, very, very believable ones. And in, well, Krillik's case, he likes to, well, I think you can explain yourself.
Yeah, I love to, like, try to find the answers, right? And I'm always willing to say, all right, I made this video a year ago, I was wrong, right? I'm not trying to theorize, I'm trying to, well, I am theorizing, but I'm trying to find the answer as best as I can every single time. And so that actually gets us into part of what this is going to lead into, a lot of the real life stuff, because before Solgaleo and Lunala came in, they probably weren't actually, the Tapus, united in any way. We don't know for sure, right? If we look at the history of Hawaii, then you have you have all these different islands. I said 4 islands because of Alola only having 4. Then you have Executor, and then you have, you know,
Aether.
the other 2, Ether, and then you have Pokepelago.
Right, yeah,
so
that one too.
technically,
Yeah.
I guess you have 7. But this unification then, while it's different in real life, would have happened in these, or could have happened in these games. As such, the unification for the Tapus are likely reflected through establishing that centralized government, creating what would have been in real life the Law of the Splintered Paddle, which is a famous humans' rights law and fostered trade from Hawaii to other places. I believe it was Spain specifically, and it was made to protect the safety of civilians, especially the elderly, women, and children during times of conflict. And that's when we get to see Cosmog, an infant Pokemon, be protected by the Tapus despite the battles, despite the conflict, despite the wars that happened between Pokemon, humans, and then Ultra Beasts. And this is super important for a subject we're not really going to cover in depth today, which is like Alola and Ultra Space's ecosystem, where we get into like Ultra Necrozma. The only way you even get this answer, speaking of looking at all the different lores from all the different like media and having a headache about that, is that Necrozma goes crazy if it tries to just take over Solgaleo or Lunala. Meanwhile, if it is imbued with a ton of Z power or imbued with an even amount of incredible energy from Solgaleo and Lunala at the same time, it restores its true form, Ultra Necrozma, something that kind of hinted at in the games, but fully explained in the anime, and it lines up really, really well, especially because of just seeing that divine quote-unquote form that it does have.
And that's, again, like, they tell you this. They tell you that this energy creates the Ultra Necrozma form, and again, Ultra Necrozma, it sounds like it is the ultimate form of Necrozma. But then at the same time, they also state in, I believe, one of their Pokedex entries of Ultra Necrozma.
I know where you're going with this, yeah.
This energy, and this is for Ultra Necrozma, so this energy was too much for it, and now it's bursting out of it. Which is confusing, because if this is its ultimate form, if this is its original form, why is its energy too much? Why is it bursting out of it? Is it because it was broken all those years ago? Again, something that's really only stated shortly in text. Or is it still not complete? There's so many questions that can be asked from these tiny pieces of text, and most of the time, even when, I will be honest, when I played the games and I read that back before I did this YouTube Pokemon theory stuff, I also glossed over it. Because it's just a tiny mention that no one really thinks about until you do this professionally, I guess. Like, I get paid for it.
Oh, that reminds me. Okay, so I never told you this, and it just clicked in my head, and I think this might, you know, put that little exclamation point above your head in excitement. So, another really good creator that just actually writes articles on Pokemon, which is wild to me because he has quality stuff, is Boltway, and I've covered his stuff on my channel.
I've referenced him once. I've referenced him once.
Really?
Wait, is it Boltway? Wait, no, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm a Ruin Maniac. It's a different.
Okay, oh my gosh, Ruin Maniac
he does some really good stuff
way
too.
back. Gosh, but Boltoy, he was looking through like the Age of Giants and everything like that, looking at all the old scrapped lore, and something that you might love is the fact that when we go through Ultra Space, and especially when we go to places like Ultra Deep Sea, what do we see? We see giant crystalline fragments, and there's a non-zero chance that when Necrozma was destroyed in whatever the 3 different ways you want to say it was, Meteor in the anime, destroyed because of I don't remember what reason, or destroyed because the recon squad attacked it, whatever, right? That the fragments we see in Ultra Space, those crystalline fragments, may actually have been the full final pieces of Ultra Necrozma that can never be reformed ever again.
That's interesting.
And while like the light that it has, like if I want to talk about ecology again, the light that it does have bursts out of it. It's helping other worlds. It's renewing life. It created life in some capacity, especially when you look at the anime. And it has affected, I like to believe, Alolan Executor into existence because of the abundance of light in Alola, as where you don't see it anywhere else. You even see like Alolan Raichu in Pokemon Snap, but you don't see Alolan Executor in that same area. You see regular Executor. But that light bursting from it is meant to run out, if you think about it ecologically, but that still doesn't make sense as to why does it actually run out, if this is its true form, like you were saying. Is there supposed to be a more complete form that prevents it from actually being gone? And now we have this whole Lunala Solgaleo recognize the situation we're in. They have to drop off Cosmog to other universes, that way they can be recreated if something happens to them. And then they're able to refill Necrozma so that way life can flourish in the light of Ultra Necrozma as history goes on. And, like, so many questions on that.
Yeah, I mean, there's also a theory I have had, and that's just because it's stated that the Z crystals are parts of Necrozma's body. That's stated by Lily and Kukui, I believe. And, I believe that those could be fragments of its whole self. And because we obviously use them for various purposes, it can never be reunited with Necrozma. On the other hand, we also know, and this pulls into the history of Alola, that Solgaleo and Lunala actually bestow Z crystals. Which either means they stole parts of Necrozma's body and started handing them out to other people, which is strange in itself, or they can create.
I'm gonna just take your spleen, Dragon. I'm gonna go give it to a
I'm
stranger
gonna,
real
I'm
quick,
gonna donate your kidney to some guardians. Yeah, so it's a strange thing to think about, and it's sometimes I think that they don't pull those connections fully, and they just write. But in the end, it is what it is, and we try our best to connect it all.
Yeah, and that's the fun of it. And with all of that aside now, with our tangents aside, during this time in which, you know, the Cosmog is dropped off, the Z crystals are handed out, Z crystals land in Alola, so on and so forth, there was a monarchy. And this monarchy is very, very, very lightly touched on throughout both Sun, Moon, Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, and I don't know if it's really mentioned in the anime at all. I tried doing some extra research before we actually started today to see if I could find anything, and I didn't. And it seems like it's a game thing primarily. Not that that makes a difference ultimately. We're primarily looking at the games anyway. But we have to ask, was this a good monarchy? Were the people happy? Was the island in good health? And unfortunately, no. There's no way, because Alola has a history of being known to be incredibly polluted and having invasive species. If you want to talk about the invasive species, I mean, Rattata and Yungoos are like the biggest ones right off the bat without even getting into Ultra Beasts.
Yeah, no, for one of the first things you notice as well, it's the version difference between Sun and Moon. It's Yungoos for Sun, and then Moon you get Rattata, the Alolan Rattata. And as far as I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, but the problem I believe was that I think the Yungoos were first and they overpopulated, or was it the Rattata? The other way, yeah. So
other way around.
They right. I believe the Rattata came from Kanto, or someplace offshore. Question mark offshore. And the Rattata, I believe they arrived by boat from settlers, unintentionally. They weren't brought there to bring rats to the island. But they brought there and they adapted themselves. Alolan Rattata, obviously. And because they adapted so well, they started overpopulating the island and eating and destroying everything. So then they brought in the Yungoos to fix this problem. But this also ended in kind of them overpopulating, I believe, the Yungoos.
Yeah, so to back you up on this, actually, I think we do know where they came from, because while they idolize Kanto, we hear a lot about Johto settlers, now that I think about it. So they might have come from Johto. And then they do, like, exactly what you said. They did incredibly well. Then they're like, all right, we got to get rid of them. So they bring in Yungoos, and they're like, all right, Yungoos, go ahead and eat them. And Yungoos is like, I love them. They're my favorite meal. Rattata starts to adapt even better, and then they transform into their Alolan form, becoming more nocturnal, and then overpopulating in their own right, while Yungoos, now being an imported species, becomes an invasive as well. And this all reflects real life. Mice ended up on ships, just like Rattata did, came to Hawaii, or went to Hawaii, I'm not in Hawaii. They went to Hawaii, then people in Hawaii, and this is a very controversial thing, because many articles try saying, oh, they did research and they try to bring in the mongoose, the Indian mongoose specifically, because it was used to fight cane toads, I believe, and mice in that area, and they were a perfect natural predator. But they didn't actually do the research, because they are diurnal, they're active during the day, meanwhile mice are mostly nocturnal naturally. And so when they brought these mongoose in, they weren't the natural predator of these mice to take care of them. So they literally introduced an invasive species into their lands, and it has been a massive issue. Whereas in Pokemon, you know, the Rattata were diurnal, but then transformed to be primarily nocturnal, and then they became clean freaks, oddly enough. Like, they, you know, that, sorry if that's not the right thing to say, but they definitely became more attached to being clean and eating clean, but also eating plenty of, like, fatty foods and fatty berries.
That Alolan lifestyle
they love the most. Yeah. So that's like how they came to be. And there's so many more invasive species that we could talk about, but that's just one of the problems. Because, you know, as this goes further, then we get into the destructive nature of what humanity was doing, right? We start getting into pollution that was so bad that they did have to import another Pokemon, which was Grimer and Muck, to fight Garbodor populations.
Grimer and Muck were also introduced to the Alolan environment, and they also adapted to it. Not all of them did, though. Some stayed in their normal Muck form, and those are the ones that are being targeted now to be removed, because, well, they scatter germs, unlike their Alolan counterpart, which actually uses, it actually cleans the environment. So it actually seems to be, as we just said with the Rattata example as well, that the Alolan environment does good for Pokemon. The Rattata become more clean, the Muck become more clean, so it might just actually be a cleaning thing. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah,
but,
and that one gets so weird. Yeah, the fact that the Grimer and Muck transformed, something I often talk about is their original forms are more biological. They, like, literally put their mouths onto sewer pipes and just suckle all the nasty filth out of it. Like, they're disgusting creatures of pure. I could.
I'm sorry.
Got me.
I couldn't help myself.
I too walk over to my local
I too suck
power
on
plant.
suck on the pipes. I clean.
God, they transform. I gotta try and hold it together after that one. They transform because now, like in Alola, they're eating furniture. They're literally eating furniture. They're eating chemical waste. They're eating oil spills. That's why they have the look that they have, which is another big thing in Hawaii. There, I'm not even gonna bother getting into here. And they, again, transform into their Alolan forms. And they were brought in because they were supposed to fight Garbodor, being a creature of garbage and filth that used to overrun Alola in excess. Now, thanks to the Alolan form of Grimer and Muck, Garbodor populations have steeply dropped, and because of, oh gosh, I should know this because I'm Nature Boy, because of natural selection.
Nature Boy.
I've been saying that too often in my
Carry that for the rest of the video.
I'm Nature Boy. All right, Nature Boy, do the nature thing.
Nature Boy. It's good to say things. All right, Weather Boy.
Well, thank you. Yes, you got it. But because of this, like, because of natural selection, the Garbodor that are still here are just stronger. And this all, again, this continues to tie back into the idea that whatever was happening in Alola before we got there was horrible. Especially now that so much of what Alola says in the anime, it is pounded into our minds almost every single episode that humans are to respect nature, to be one with nature more than any other region. And when we look at the games, we see that every kahuna is one with nature. They're one with their Pokemon. They are so close to what exists there and how to cultivate it better, not in the I'm using it way, but in the I am here for it way. And because of this, you know, you start to see where the cracks start opening. You know, not everyone on this island is one with nature, and that causes a lot of the problems. And in antithesis to all of this, to the problems of Alola's past, in Hawaiian and Polynesian culture, there's always been, or at least to my understanding, there's always been a deep regard for nature. Through the source of Hawaii Alive, and even more directly, Catherine Luamala and her contribution to the Bishop Museum archives, we learn that while kahunas in Pokemon are simply seen as leaders of the islands, them being chosen by the spirits of nature lines up incredibly well with kahunas in the real world. As they describe, or as she describes, the priests, or kahunas, mediating between gods and people, Tapus, and the people of Alola, were professional or occupational specialists trained commonly by older kin in the material techniques and the rituals essential for success in their callings. Of these several organized priesthoods, Kamehameha the Great, a very religious man, supported the higher ranking and stricter order for the Ku, gods of war and sorcery, and the lower and milder for the Lono, gods of peace and abundance. Each order's high priest, Kahuna Nui, its founder's direct descendant, and an expert in every branch of religion, wielded political power by advising the ruler on how to win divine support. Failure was often attributed to errors in worship, counter magic, or hidden infractions of taboos. So, Dragon, what does all of that sound like to us? Because I think you know very, very well, like, where these connections are. As I did not tell you I was going to talk about this in particular.
No, that came out of nowhere. But, in general, like, I've talked a little myself about the real-world mythology of Alola, but not as deep as you also just went with the history, and even, like, you pronounced, I'm going to mispronounce it again, Kamehameha.
I think it's Kamehameha. Like, I think
Kamehameha.
Yeah.
I pronounce it Kamehameha, which is completely wrong.
Gotta go in the Dragon Ball version.
I thought that's where it came from. I thought that's why they pronounced like that. That was an assumption on my end. My bad.
And if we mess up, by the way, I'm gonna formally apologize. Like, neither of us speak proper, I was going to say Polynesian, but I don't think it's technically Polynesian. I don't know the actual dialect now that I think about it. Speaking of
Hawaiian.
We'll go with that. So
We'll go with that.
Don't ignore ignorance. Do feel free to correct us. That's the fun of this as we learn together.
I apologize for Krillik beforehand.
Thank you. Thank you. I need more people apologizing for me so I could be a bad person on the internet. And
yeah, I will not be accountable for his actions that he does, but I will apologize for him beforehand. So,
I should probably let you talk about the Tapus though, because you and all this connection here.
Exactly. So I connected the Tapus, and because each of the Tapus of the 4 islands are based on a Hawaiian god, because there's the 4 main ones. There is the for the main island, Mele Mele, is based on Oahu, right? And the god Ku is the Hawaiian god of war, and it's associated with birds and roosters, and that kind of explains why, well, Tapu Koko's shell is that of a rooster, right? Tapu Bulu protects Ula Ula Island, and it is that Ula Ula Island is based on the main island of Hawaii. Surprisingly, I thought it was Mele Mele Island at first until I looked further into it, but it's actually Tapu Bulu's Ula Ula Island that is Hawaii, or Hawaii stands for Big Island. That's the translation of it. Tapu Bulu represents Lono, the god of agriculture, and that explains why he has the aggressive surge ability. And the bowl comes from... Okay, here comes the name again. King Kamehameha.
Yeah, I think the H is fairly silent. I could be wrong. Yeah. Because I know, like, when H is at the beginning, they usually pronounce it a little bit stronger. Like, I'll have to do a little bit later.
Yeah, I'm from Germany. I do hard vowels. I don't do H's. But, no, the... Kamehameha.
You got it.
Kamehameha. Who, he, in 1793, something around there, he placed a kapu, which means taboo, on bulls.
Okay.
You couldn't hunt them, which made them really populate the main island, because there was no humans to restrict them populating, because everything else humans could still hunt. Bulls, not so much. And then there were a lot of bulls on the main island. Then Tapu Fini, that's the last one. No, sorry, third one, I'm miscounting. Tapu Fini is the guardian of Pony Island. And in the real world, this island is called Kauai, I believe. And Tapu Fini, I'm so sorry. Tapu Fini is represented by Kanaloa, I think. Kanaloa. And this is the god of the ocean and healing, which ocean healing, Tapu Fini's water typing, makes sense. Tapu Lele is the last one, this time really the last one, on Akala Island, and it's the island we know in the real world as Maui. And it's found the ruins of life. It's represented by Kane, the creator god, the giver of life. Makes sense. It's got the butterfly shell, which represents rebirth. It's also Hawaii's state insect. Yeah.
No, that makes, yeah.
The good stuff.
You did fantastically, because let me tell you right now, I do not have those off the top of my head because of the fact that I'm terrible with names. I'm genuinely terrible with names.
To be fair, I read that part of my script a while back, like 50 times, so now it's really stuck in my head. I have that.
So this then leads us even further, right? Because you might start questioning, or like the audience might start questioning, okay, well, now we have 4 gods, but then Solgaleo and Lunala are also technically gods worshipped in some capacity. And then we have Ultra Necrozma, who in another universe is also kind of worshipped as a god. What's happening here? Why are there so many gods? Well, as a polytheistic society, and again, going back to my original source that I'd spoken on earlier, Hawaiians worshipped nearly 40,000 gods under the Aikapu. These gods presided over the various tasks of life, including childbirth, agriculture, war, fishing, family structure, and chiefly rule. The Aqua, like the Kanaka, were of the various ranks and power. Aumaka, or Amakua, or ancestral gods, guarded and guided members of their family and were honored by those who were genealogically linked to them, which is really, really cool, because we actually get to see that in how Hapu becomes the next kahuna, because I believe it's her grandfather was a kahuna, and then she took up that mantle.
Yeah, it was the grandfather of Hapu. I'm just confirming your thing.
I mean, that's good, because it's interesting that it skipped a generation, right? It skipped the
father.
For
a while, I believe the island was without a kahuna, I think.
Yeah.
For a little bit, as well, if I remember correctly. Because when we first go to the island, there is actually no kahuna until Hapu gets bestowed this by I'm just gonna say the Tapu there, because I forgot the name.
I think it was
Fini, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's Fini. You're right.
Yeah, Fini. And this Tapu bestows her the title of Kahuna. And as Krillik just said, it's interesting that this seems to be a blood thing as well, which makes us also like it makes sense why How also would become the next Kahuna. It's hinted towards that in the games, I believe, that because well, he loses the champion title to us because we're awesome, we're really good at this. He loses, and most likely he becomes the next Kahuna of Mele Mele Island, I believe, in the anime. And that's something I have rough knowledge about because I only watch it nowadays for research. He is also there, How, and he's in training to become the next Kahuna as well from Hala.
And that also gets interesting because, like, when we look at that relationship too, oh my gosh, it's actually really cool that you mentioned, because I completely forgot that, right? So before he can even take up that mantle, he does leave the region to go look for his father, who had visited Kanto, I believe it was specifically. And so, again, we get a father that's not there, that the Kahuna title skipped, or rather, the Tapus skipped over.
That's true, actually. Yeah, because Hala is Hala's obviously How's. It never occurred to me that How doesn't have a father there, because I always just like almost thought. Well, I didn't think Hala is his father. It's obviously too much of a difference, like age difference wise. But it never occurred to me that yes, How doesn't have a father. A very common trope in Pokemon, actually.
That actually
we have not seen our father except for Emerald or Sapphire Ruby. We see our father there. He's the gym leader, but he's also absent.
Yeah, he's also an absolute jerk in the manga.
Yeah. He's never home. He's never home. Ducks. But we do have a father at the very least. All the other games, it's literally just we have a mom, which is great. Like,
yeah,
they're fantastic all the time. But no father, sadly.
That gets into like a weird little thing that I don't think this is canonical, but in like old Pokemon writings and stuff like that, and I think you could find this on TV tropes if you want like a quick search of it. Where
you might know what you're referencing. Go on.
Where they explain so many different things, and like when you look at they were like talking to Ash's mom and everything like that, it was mentioned that Ash's father and many other trainers leave their families and effectively become deadbeats. They go off on these journeys, they leave their jobs behind, they leave their families behind. They think they could do this, and it's such a difficult task that they don't achieve it, and then they are effectively shamed because they not only left their families, they also couldn't achieve what they gave up everything for, and they're hated. And I do not think that's canonical. Not anymore. But it's so
not anymore.
Interesting. Well, it had to have been at some point, theoretically speaking,
right?
Yeah,
I guess,
In some universe, in some way, some of the writers, it's official publishing, said this, right? And we know how many times Pokemon has changed the lore and switched things around. And, I mean, gosh, not even to get into it today, but look at the number of different original Sinnoh myths that existed through old leaks before they became what they are today.
That's a lot of the time in my comment sections as well for my videos, when I reference the Sinnoh myths, things such as the leaks come up and people reference them, which is fair.
Yeah.
You can reference the leaks. But you have to keep in mind that the only canon thing that really is strictly able to be pulled from, well, the leaks are the furthest away from that, because it's an unimplemented thing that they wrote. There's a reason they were leaked. They were never handed out, because in the end, that's not what they went with, right? So, at one thing, yes, it does fill in gaps because the story in the leaks is more complete. Taking it as fact, especially for the Sinnoh myths, where I believe there was something about like the shells of the egg where Arceus came from, all that, and all this super complicated stuff. Sounds cool, and believe me, I wish I could pull from that. That would be so cool. I could do so many things with it. At the same time, it's not. It's a draft in a sense, something they discarded and said no, it's not worth putting in. Well, on one hand, they could just not have put it in because it was too much information and they didn't know where to put it. On the other hand, it could be this is baloney, but we wrote it anyway and never deleted it. Could be either one of the two. So always take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I think one of the coolest things that I really wish was real was Daga, Palkia, Giratina are...
I wish they were real, yeah.
Dang it.
Man, they
to
sound so cool.
Their bodies are, at least in the old myths, they scrap myths, to be very clear once again, with our audience. They're in 3 of those myths, they were the bodies of the giants that Arceus defeated. And Giratina was the body of, like, the ghost one, which effectively became, like, his war god, which explains why he's so angry and, you know, so on and so forth. But Giratina is often misunderstood, and then you get into the idea that it's not really all that angry, it's not an evil creature, blah, 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 so on and so forth, right? And what I'm about to say before we get back into, like, our proper topic here, this does not reflect Dragon. I do not speak for him when I say what I'm about to say. But I despise
what you're gonna say. Okay.
I despise when people refuse to accept any information from the anime whatsoever, or the manga whatsoever, but they will look at the leaks and say, but this is true. This is true. It has to be true because the leaks are, it's like, that's not published material, buddy. I don't know what you want from me.
Yeah.
It's painful.
I'm very, when I do my theories, the only time I really reference anime nowadays is for things such as mythological Pokemon, because a lot of the times they are first introduced in the movies. And for something like Magearna, I referenced a section of my video is fully dedicated to the anime. But again, even for something like that, it's difficult, because on one hand, we have the series where in Sun and Moon it was introduced, Magearna. On the other hand, in the movies, it's also introduced, just in a different location. Yeah, it's confusing, because I believe the one they find in Alola as well is technically the shiny version of Magearna, but that goes into the implication of that there were 2 Magearna, but that doesn't make sense, because there's only one of this. It's very complicated. So the anime is something I usually try to avoid, because I just don't want to think. But, you know...
I think it's fair, though, with the Magearna, and it's funny you mentioned that. We'll talk about Magearna later. I think mythological Pokemon, that is the perfect example of they were introduced this way. It's the only way we're going to get that information. If we completely, you know, we have to scrutinize it, right? We have to look at it carefully like you do, because otherwise, despite it canonically being, for example, I know it's not a mythical, it is a legendary, that Team Rocket made Mewtwo. In the original games, there is 0 connection that Giovanni made Mewtwo whatsoever. Nothing. Not a single shred, not a sentence, not a line, nothing. And
that's, I'll be honest, I'm guilty of that. Because until you just said it, I forgot that is a thing, that they never referenced the creation of Mewtwo in the games. Because it's such a, like, a simple fact that, like, yeah, Team Rocket made Mewtwo, but in reality, it's not stated in the first games. No,
it's not. And the closest we get to it is when we see Rainbow Rocket Giovanni with a Mega Mewtwo, which horrifying implications. Also an Alola here, which is great. Horrifying implications considering the fact that I don't know. That means that Giovanni and Mewtwo are actually aligned in their goals and are of same mind, same body, same soul, whatever the heck you want to say. I guess that's a Soul Eater reference by accident. Oops. But yeah, that is a horrifying concept, ultimately. But to try and pull us back then, when we look at these gods, right? All these gods, all Aqua, or these ancestral gods, had earthly nature forms known as Kinolao, literally meaning many bodies, and each god often had more than one Kinolao. So if you really want to go buck wild with it, we could consider 2 things. One, the Tapus may have been one entity at one point. I don't think that's the case, but it would be really cool as an idea. 2, many bodies. What happens when they use their specified Z move? They get a full actual body. I don't think that was 100% the intent, but it is really cool to see that it technically has 2 different forms. At least within, like, that moment in the anime, seeing that big punch, seeing what they call, like, the power of Alola between Ash and Kukui in that final, like, championship moment, you get to see this Titan rise from the ground like it does in the games and see it move around a bit. You get to see it throw that punch with this huge, just ridiculous body. I think it's important to remember that these are the creatures that are defending Alola. And what happens when you start to destroy nature? What happens when you start to disrespect nature? Well, the last couple of mistakes that happened were the thrifty Mega Mart, which was near the Tapu Village. That was one of the mistakes. And when we go to Tapu Village in the modern day, it's destroyed. And instead of rebuilding, they leave it destroyed. It's like a sign. It's like, excuse the more graphic nature of it. It is like the head on a spike, right? Of saying, this is for you to remember to never do this again. They made the thrifty Mega Mart right by this place. And that place is also run down, but not quite destroyed. Inside of it, we find ghost Pokemon. Inside of it, we find Mimikyu, who is abandoned, and who is the trial captain of this area. We have Acerola, which is very, very interesting, I think. We'll get back to Acerola later, because she ties into a lot of this, of course, as we're going to be talking about the Monarchy and the fall of it. But outside of just that Mega Mart and this location being destroyed by Tapu Bulu, specifically Tapu Village, we also get the near construction of a power plant. Something we actually only learn about in Ultra Ruin, but I don't like to keep saying this, but we will come back to that one later. But because of all these disrespects of nature, Tapu Bulu may have actually been the first one to bring the fight out. It's already known to be the most outwardly aggressive, even though it's quote-unquote lazy and likes to lounge around a lot, while also being the one to be so strong and being willing to act, and may have been the start of this war. Because something that's made very apparent is that the Tapus are very benevolent creatures, but also incredibly wrathful spirits of nature at the same time.
They don't have the same, I guess, they aren't like us humans who feel remorse or anything of the sorts. They act based on their instincts. They want to be worshipped in a sense, and they will reward this behavior. But at the same time, if kind of like a child, if they don't get what they want, they will uncaringly act and, like you saw with the Mega Mart, destroy it. A big thing also probably why the Mega Mart was destroyed is because the mountain on this island, I forgot the name of it. It's a big mountain.
Mount Hokulani? Or no, Hokulani is the observatory. Mount Mauna Kea.
Yeah, that one.
I only know it because of Mauna Kea and the real life mountain are like they literally share the same origin, but I'll let you continue.
Yeah. That one is a sacred site to the Tapus for some reason. It could be because that is where they fought, because something happened up there. We don't know for sure.
It might have been.
But it could also be where in the past that's where Soroleo and Dunal appeared. Could also just be on the sundial where that was. We're not sure. It's not fully stated, but we do know that this is a sacred site. It's stated to be a sacred site, and that's also why the Pokemon League was built there, because the battles held up there are in honor of the Tapus. Again, going towards their nature for wanting to be worshipped. It's this whole league thing, which is introduced when we first do the island challenge, because before then it was the island challenge and then you're done with it. It's just kind of like a vacation for them. Now it actually became a league thing with the Elite Four and everything. On all these battles, they were held for the Tapus. And this, on the bottom of this mountain, that was the thrifty Mega Mart, which is now destroyed because the Tapus. It goes against the Tapus being worshipped situation. The Mega Mart was going completely against this, not only work with nature, but it was disrespectful towards the Tapus.
Yeah, we could actually tie it really well to if anyone plays Stardew. Really good example is because what happens, we're somebody from another land, just like an Alola, who comes in. We are told to be one with nature. We're told to work alongside nature. Well, that also happens in Alola to some capacity as well. I mean, literally the whole thing, actually, not to some capacity. And then we're introduced to a location like a Mega Mart, JoJo's. Or Joja, not JoJo's, not the anime JoJo's, but to Joja Mart, where it's like, okay, convenience. Okay, let me give you the soda. Yeah, let's just keep building this Mega Mart up. And if you go through with that in Stardew, it destroys everything effectively. And what happens in Alola? Well, that's prevented, at least with what we see in our Alola. And I actually completely forgot that mountain was there on the same island as the Thrifty Mega Mart, which is insane because it's literally the highest and the lowest points on that island, I think. And then on top of that, there's something with, I don't know if it's the same with a bunch of other cultures, but at least with what I've seen a lot with Japanese culture, and might be Eastern culture in general, because I think China also kind of gets into this, is the effectively higher up you are, the closer you are to the gods, right? This is something that most people probably see in Dragon Ball Z for the first time. Goku dies, he goes to heaven, he walks on Snake Way, he ends up meeting with the gods, and when he gets revived, guess what? He can just teleport or fly through space really, really, really far away and go back to these otherworldly planets. That space and heaven are the same thing. That's why we say, they have traveled to the heavens, they have traveled to the sky and beyond into space. And it's a huge cultural thing. There's a lot of different locations in Pokemon that have this. I don't think it's Dragon Spiral Tower, but whatever the location is, that has like Litwick and Elgium in them, or not Elgium. No, it is Elgium, sorry. Litwick and Elgium in it. As you start at the bottom, there's Litwick, but as you go towards the top, there's more and more Elgium as you get closer to the top. You go from ghosts to aliens as the populations shift, but it's a grave site, or it's a worship site.
Celestial Tower.
Thank you. Yes, yeah. That's the location. Ah, perfect. So yeah, like there's a lot of mixing cultures and ideas here when it comes to a lot of this, and like you said, when we come into this and we see that these Tapus are so much closer with nature, there's so much more you need to respect nature, we want to be worshipped. Tapu Koko is the leader for a reason, because you actually said it earlier. Tapu Koko represents Ku, who is also called Eater of Islands. Ku was called by many names, but the Eater of Islands was one because as it aligned with King Kamehameha in real life Hawaii, it was effectively the war god that allowed the king to conquer and unite the islands under one ruler. In antithesis to this, Pokemon likes to twist things around. And in this case, we have four gods, the Tapus, uniting together and fighting against industrialization, and I will claim fought against our king. Tapu Koko is known for protecting its home, but it's also fickle. It will not actually necessarily just help people who are in need, which again goes back into what Dragon was saying. They are going by their instinct. They're going by what they want. They're very curious. They'll play or battle with people that interest them, but that doesn't mean that they're just going to do it willy-nilly. If you are of no interest, like a child, it's just going to leave you behind. They still have that explosive temper. They forget what enraged them in their temper. And ultimately, Tapu Koko and the rest of our Tapus, especially, are seen as benevolent but horrifying. And in the case of Koko specifically, it is referred to as a malevolent deity should it ever get provoked.
Yeah. Moving on now.
Okay. I just want to.
Sorry, if I'm gonna be quite honest with you, like, I was kind of just like.
you were getting into.
I was listening to you as if I was watching one of your videos, and.
I'm keeping this in. No,
no.
Go on. You might as well say the rest of it. This is funny. But you don't understand how much my audience bullies me. My live streams bully me. So know about this.
Yeah, no. I was kind of like listening to you just now, kind of like, I don't know, you say things in a very like fluent way, so I was just kind of like, I was as if I was watching one of your videos, and usually I watch them like some sections where I just do what I just did now twice because I understand half of it, and otherwise I'm just listening to you because it's like I'm half absorbing the information. I'm so sorry.
You're fine. That
was the latter half.
I will take it as a partial compliment, I think.
I don't do it often. Usually I'm fully like locked in, but like I do find your stuff very enjoyable, so I just kind of.
Thank you.
I was acting if I was watching one of your videos, which whoopsie daisy.
You're like, I see this guy on the screen all the time. This is not a recording. Oh no.
It's like, oh wait, I am recording here.
That's fine. That's
Whoops.
fine.
Anyway, say your last part again.
Yeah, I was just effectively bouncing off of what you had said earlier, which is that like each of the Tapus are their own. While they have their good qualities, because of them wanting to be worshipped, and often we look at deities throughout history, no matter the culture, many of them want to be revered and feared at the same time. And so, and also their motives are beyond us 99% of the time. You know, what they want is something we can't comprehend, something we can't understand due to our mortal life, our limited lifespan, so on and so forth. And now we have 4 gods, the 4 Tapus, who are each representative of these things. Of, yes, they are revered, yes, they are respected, yes, they are leaders and protectors of the islands, but they are also seen as scary individuals, with Tapu Koko specifically being referred to as a malevolent deity. And we'll get into the rest of the well-known information regarding the Tapus one by one, but that's just starting with Koko.
Yeah, so in general, like, Tapu Lele, it's one of the biggest things, like, it's healing, and we said before, like, Tapu Lele is based on the god of life, and the scales that Tapu Lele actually scatters, they have healing properties, which is great on one hand. On the other hand, it's like if there's too many of them, too much healing, it's very dangerous, and this has happened many times before. On the other hand, also, Tapu Lele does this on purpose. These scales. It's not just an accident. It's this almost quote unquote, in human terms, cruelty that it has. It amuses Tapu Lele. So yeah, on one hand, like it's this pink Tapu that is in the shape of like a butterfly, very pretty, and you think, oh, it's a guardian of the islands. On the other hand, it's in human terms cruel. It amuses itself through the pain of others, which in a Pokemon game, again, obviously it's not going to be directly stated. Nope. So this is just, it's never going to be told like, oh yeah, Tapu Lele,
oh yeah, no, this Pokemon just likes to torture others. I think there's one Pokemon
that tortured my grandmother last year. Kind of freaky, but but yeah, there's an old legend where Tapu Lele also ended a war by healing the tired warriors. So there's also good in Tapu Lele. It's not all just bad, obviously. It's a guardian. But this does show that they're both either going to be cruel. They're both cruel in human terms, but also good. So it's in simple terms, they're not human-like.
No.
By us, there's this good and bad. This is this difference. For them, it's not. For them, it's natural. Right?
They go with their flow, and and this is like a peek behind the curtain. And actually, so I've had this simmering for a long time, this idea of talking about Alola's war, and it all kind of started with Lele, because it talks about scattering those scales, and it talks about leaving them behind randomly, or helping these injured soldiers, or warriors rather, they do specifically say warriors like you said, with its scales. And then while ending the war, there are still accounts that state that there's some other disturbing truth behind it all. So it makes me wonder, and this is like my horror mindset idea, where I wonder if Tapu Lele dropping these scales, there are 2 ways that we could go about it. One, it's invigorating their bodies, which it does say, that's what it does, which it's probably like, you ever watch My Hero Academia? You know the, There's
I think I've watched the first season of it.
Okay, so you've
really
seen
minimal.
That's fine. You've seen the recovery girl, I think is what her name is, right? She invigorates the body's healing.
The old woman.
Yeah. So I wonder if it's like
grandma.
her. I wonder if it's like the grandma's powers, where hey, I can stimulate your body to then heal itself, but it's still using your body's like nutrition and abilities and stamina. So if I do it too much, your body's just gonna die. Or if alternatively, and I made this joke in like one of my more recent videos, if it's actually that these scales overheal, don't use the body's natural resources, and effectively causes like a cancer or a tumorous growth of some kind, or I went really
which brings us to my Guzzler theory.
Actually, that'd be so sick if this happened. I mean, horrifying, but it'd be so sick if that was like
so sick
how
if,
we got
Tapu Lele gave cancer.
gave
Woo!
cancer, and then we got these Pokemon.
That was so awesome.
But like, it's so cool to like go down these roads, and one of the horrifying ideas that could happen, and I doubt Pokemon would go this far, but imagine a prisoner of war with Tapu Lele. Injured, then healed, injured, then healed, injured, then healed, unable to escape, through death until eventually you give up everything. You give up information, you give up power, whatever it is. We don't know the full extent of what could have happened with Tapu Lele. I think, again, I don't think Pokemon would go that far, but it's still a horrifying concept to just think about as a possibility.
Ancient Alolan war techniques, crazy.
Exactly. Imagine that. Oh man, no, that gets into some really nasty, horrifying things. Imagine all the Pokemon.
Did Pokemon have a Geneva convention?
There's a dude that actually
Check in
did
next
that.
time.
There's a dude.
What?
Yes, there is a guy on YouTube who sat down and went through every Geneva convention that every Pokemon breaks.
Oh no!
It's amazing. I haven't listened to all of it. They made a part 2. It's amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah.
It's amazing as a video, horrifying as a concept.
As I'm breaking the Geneva Convention. That's
it's a checklist. No.
Yeah.
Ultimately, though, continuing through, I mean, we have Tapu Bulu, right? We've already kind of talked about it. It's a fairly inactive creature. A lot of people
it's tired.
Yeah, some people consider it very lazy at the end of the day. And it is a relatively peaceful Pokemon, noted to not like unnecessary violence. So, like any other animal that might mark a tree with their scent or with their claws, Tapu Bulu will ring its bell on its tail to let others know, hey, I'm coming through, or hey, I'm here. Do not come near me. Do not bother me. If you offend me, though, it will then destroy everything in its path. It will swing.
Kind of like the opposite of an ice cream truck.
Wait, what did
Sorry.
No, you don't get away with that.
An ice cream truck is like, it drives through and it plays the bell to attract people.
Okay, I thought that was
and
going
Tapu
a very
Bulu
different direction. I thought you were calling an ice cream truck like a harbinger of destruction.
It's kind of like an ice cream truck. It drives through my town and people hide.
People have
because if you invoke the wrath of my local ice cream dealer, good luck.
It's like the gingerbread man, the original story. He cooked children. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true. I've heard something a long time ago. Do not take that as fact. I don't want that to be misinformation. But yeah, no, I mean, Tapu Bulu, it's ripping out trees from the ground. It's swinging them like clubs. We know it destroyed Tapu Village as part of its wrath. And then at the end of it all, it goes back to nature. It goes back to protecting everything, going back to just revitalizing what it destroyed for what it cares about.
It's one of the Tapus that, as far as I remember, is spoken about the least, except for the fact that, yes, it is the one that destroyed Tapu Village because of the construction of this Mega Mart. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but
I got you.
It is the one that destroyed a whole town, a town that is not even yet rebuilt, and I don't think ever will be rebuilt.
I don't think so either, yeah.
Even though it is the Tapu that is tired, sleeps in grassy plains, seems chill at first, but really I'm not going to say it killed people in Tapu Village, but based on the destruction of this place and because it's not rebuilt, maybe it did. We don't know. Yeah. I don't think Pokemon ever state this directly, but it destroyed a whole town. It wiped the whole place off the map.
Yeah.
A thing that's still wiped off the map.
It makes
because it was angry.
Wonder, even if it didn't kill people, and if some of the people we're going to talk about later, I know I keep saying later a lot, but I wonder if some of the people we're going to talk about later
Gotta keep them engaged.
were
the last 5 minutes of the video is just gonna be like, okay, now we're talking about
everything. But no, like a claw machine releasing all the candy. But no, I wonder if the people that we're going to talk about later are from this area. We're going to get there really, really soon. We might as well round off with Tapu Fini, who again is both respected and feared as per direct information. To avoid itself from being harmed in battle, it will actually surround the area in a mysterious fog, which is not too dissimilar from what a lot of our Tapus do in general, but this is a full fog that it is doing, which sends opponents into a self-destructive trance. This fog is also a test because Tapu Fini holds the waters of life essentially where it is, which can cleanse anything that it touches. It's not really expanded on beyond that, to my understanding. It's probably very much like an old mystic water idea. It's getting rid of disease. It's getting rid of whatever may ail an individual in general. And when many individuals try to go after this, they're not doing it for a benevolent purpose. It's not like, oh, my family member is sick, I need to get this for them because I'm worried about them. It's, I want to get this, and potentially, because we know that there is this ill intent in history which caused Tapu Fini's disgust with humans, that maybe with all this industrialization of Alola and all these old practices, disrespecting nature, they may have tried to commercialize this water, you know? And that's a very big stretch.
It's never stated, but it is a possibility based on the trend we see going with the Mega Mart. Again, I don't support anything he says, so don't.
Ow!
No, I take it back. But you know, no, it's a good inference to pull from that information because it is the fact that the Mega Mart was being created, and if the Mega Mart, that's something we should also go into, if the Mega Mart wasn't stopped, if it wasn't destroyed by the Tapus, and this trend of industrialization would have continued, well, what would have happened?
Yeah, that's a huge thing. Ultimately, at the end of the day, and Tapu Fini is no different from the rest of them, right? It's using so many of its abilities to protect this water, to push away humans, except for those that prove themselves worthy. It's apparently able to even make people see their dead loved ones, right? And trap them in this mist forever, which is insane as like an idea, because then they effectively go insane themselves because they can't endure seeing these people who are no longer gone. So bouncing, or rather leaning more into what Dragon just said, as the Tapus in the past aimed to fight against industrialization and all these trends that we're seeing, as they fought on the side of humanity and nature against this industrialization, and now that, again, we know that a monarchy fell at some point, we know that a monarchy was likely tied to a lot of this, what could the king have actually done? Well, the king had a kahuna of his own, and would create a being of destruction as well that is meant to fight the Tapus. The kahuna in question that I'm bringing up is the one that was defeated by the Tapus. Literally, we are told very directly that there was once a kahuna that no longer exists anymore. That they did something to offend the Tapus, and all of them came after this individual. They destroyed this kahuna and their quote-unquote team, and the remnants, not all of them, but many of the remnants then reformed and became a part of Team Skull, creating Team Skull, actually. Now, my claim is that this kahuna is actually Plumeria's parents. Plumeria is the holder of a Poisonium Z, and their parents would have been too. The process of this would effectively have been that the kahuna would have been under this king, very much similar to how Team Skull is under Lusamine, because Guzma ends up working for Lusamine, creating a parallel between time and between factions. That with a Poisonium Z, something that goes against nature, poisoning of nature, alongside a poisoning of nature through industrialization, which you could see as a metallic thing as well, not just a poisoning of nature, and we'll get to that again very, very soon, that this is when the Tapus come in, They destroy everything, and now we just kind of have Plumeria, who somehow is a leader of Team Skull alongside Guzma. We don't see her parents. We see Guzma's parents. He has a ton of Beginnium Zs that he just hides away and steals and everything else, but never uses. Yet Plumeria has a Poisonium Z that she uses, and she gives us one, with nobody saying anything else on where this could have come from. And even when we have other Z crystals that we find in random locations or otherwise, there is still someone that is protecting it, right? Even if we want to look at, I think it's 10 Carat Hill, where you can get the Flyanium Z. You know, the individual there, she, the golfer, I can't remember her name, she becomes part of the Elite Four, right? So there's significance in every single one of the holders of these Z crystals, and yet we don't get too much regarding Plumeria and this Poisonium Z, why she has it, right?
Yeah, so no, we don't know why she has this Poisonium Z. We just know that in the end that's she gives it to us for some strange reason. This could, of course, playing devil's advocate here, be just a way for Game Freak to give us a Poisonium Z without having to put it somewhere, or just kind of say, oh, Poison types, Team Skull, she's kind of the quote-unquote secondary leader of Team Skull. It makes sense for her to give us the Poisonium Z, and they didn't think more into it. However, that's boring. Counter-argument to the counter-argument. And I don't think that that's what they would have done, because when you look into the leaks and just see how much the lore writers do for the series, there's thought put behind a lot of the things Pokemon does. So having something as big as a Z crystal given to us by some random person that just uses poison type Pokemon makes a little sense. It wouldn't make a lot of sense, especially because they did it twice in Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon.
Oh yeah.
As far as I remember, right? They didn't correct themselves. They didn't change it up to make it more lore related, which they did with quite a few things in Ultra Sun and Moon. They perfected a few things.
Yes.
They changed nothing on that. They kept it, which means there is some kind of thing they could want us to pull from that. And I quite like Krillik's interpretation of it.
Thank you. And I think there's one other thing we can add to it that I just remembered, is that her ace is a Salazzle. Now, Salazzle meets the traditional definition of the Hawaiian Mo'o, effectively a feminine spiritual of nature that appears in fires and attracts men to their demise, effectively, right? Well, Salazzle also is a fire type. It has this poison that it can, or rather these perfumes that it can use to control the male Salandit, and this smell that it has is used in perfumes in Alola. It's not just this random thing. So it works on humans too, strangely enough. It is seen as an attractive scent. And then the Mo'o is also described as having a full black body. So Salazzle is a traditional Mo'o by all means and all accounts. Yet, what do we have instead? We have Ko-Mo'o. We have this fighting dragon type who is seen as this incredibly powerful Pokemon that has these scales that scare away like the ne'er-do-wells, the evil people, that it scares or destroys their spirit, or whatever the heck it actually says. Honestly, I don't remember off the top of my head. And this goes into, once again, this flipping of the script of, well, we have this traditional Mo'o, let's make it evil, and then let's give the Mo'o name to something that doesn't really match it physically, doesn't match it as per male or female. It just goes completely differently, right? So we were getting so many different parallels, and it would make a lot of sense then, once more, to see that we have that where King Kamehameha united the islands with the power of a god. The gods work together against the monarchy, right? We have a Mo'o, which was respected. Well, now it's an evil thing, right? And then I think this is where you then start to question, okay, well, what do you do against these gods? What do you do against these super powerful beings that could turn into giants that could just punch me into the earth's core, right? Well, the only creature that we could potentially see that would work incredibly well against, I don't know, 4 fairy type Pokemon would be Magearna. A Pokemon we know was created by the monarchy. That is a consistent detail that we see through the games and the anime. It was created by the monarchy. Why it was created gets a little bit different.
Yeah, it's tricky. The monarchy, it is like it's stated to have been created by a monarchy in Kalos. Which I've done a whole video trying to decipher already, but I will talk about it again here because it's something that's frustrated me for a little bit. Magearna its body shape is very similar to that of a Tapu. And a lot of the theories do also say that, Magearna is the 5th Tapu, as in the Aether Foundation's island.
Yeah.
Could be, could not be, never stated. But the fact that Magearna's existence pulls more towards it being created in Kalos by some scientist, which we see more of in the movies, but its existence being tied to Kalos was strange for me.
Yeah, I forget that detail all the time. I'm happy you actually mentioned it, because I genuinely am so used to, just like we see Meltan and it's like, oh, that's an Alolan Pokemon. Well, it's really not, because it's a Pokemon Go Pokemon. You know, these details get muddled.
It's interesting, actually. Meltan, I won't go too long into it, but Meltan is, it's stated to have arrived or live in a forest where it was worshipped as well. And in this forest, it was worshipped for its ability to create metal, and Meltan is the very first source of metal, of iron in the world.
Oh, I never knew that.
And it gave people specialized tools, obviously because it's part of its own body, that allowed these people to develop, and that's also why it was worshipped so much. On top of that, it's most likely from, well, I think it's most likely from Galar, but we don't know exactly where it's from. It could be an unknown region, it could be some forest, often who knows where. But it certainly was in a forest. We don't know where it arrived from. I think it's something related to do with meteorites, because in the past, like in our real world, the first source of iron was from meteorites as well. So if we're pulling the connection there and saying, oh, it's a parallel, then it might have been that Melmetal also came from a meteorite. Again, Rayquaza are not doing a lot, but
Rayquaza,
I'll let that one go. Deoxys. Yeah, I let everyone go. Eternatus, yeah, I come through. Melmetal, yeah, I come through. Deoxys, oh, wait, hold up.
Hold on. We're stopping you.
Okay.
No, so, that's really cool, actually, that you brought all that up, because that's Meltan, Melmetal are arguably probably some of the Pokemon I know the least about, because I work so much on trying to talk about like ecology and nature and biology and so on and so forth that like metal Pokemon escapes my grasp. You know, it's such a specific area where you have to talk about it in, that it's just gone every time. So happy that
it's Melmetal is probably the least influential when it comes to like ecosystems and stuff. Like it's quite literally, it looks like an alien. It makes iron. Okay, it created iron tools first in some forest and who knows where, and it's Pokemon Go related. So it's really tricky to work with it. So I completely agree, and for a majority of the time until I made a video about it, I ignored Melmetal. I never wanted to do anything about it because it's just a mess.
Yeah.
Same with like Zarude, for example. Like Zarude pulls more into ecosystems, I think.
Yeah.
But Zarude also, it's mythical Pokemon in general are really tricky to pinpoint the exact origin of, because they're made for the movies. And in the movies, as we know, some creative liberties are pulled. I'm looking at Hoopa.
Can I give you another headache?
Hoopa. Oh, please.
So the fun part about watching like all the movies in the Discord server is that in so many of the movies, in their intros, we get to see the main characters from the games pop up immediately, fighting Ash. Sure. And then on top of that, we have so many Pokemon like the Zarude. Oh wait, no, not Zarude. Zorora, that have their own special location in a random city, in a random place, in like the Zeraora movie, and then that gets distributed into the games, and it straight up says it's from that city, which doesn't exist in the games, but is in that movie. So then you start to be like, what are
we doing here?
What's going on? Where does this exist?
Do we take that as canon? Do we take that as you watched the movie, so you know this place? And most of the time, yes, I take it as, you watched this movie, so you know the place. Yeah. Here's a fun little thing. This place doesn't exist in the Pokemon lore. you have never walked to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that is the most, like, that's the least complicated part, because it would be a bother trying to explain this every video, saying, oh, well, actually, there's these two interpretations, and doing this every single time also would probably bore all of you guys. So
it wouldn't bore my audience. Have you seen how long some of my videos are?
True. Yeah, true. Different audiences. If anyone from my side has made it this far, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for making it this far. Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, it's like my audience, when you said earlier, you're like, I won't take too long on this. I said, like in my head, I went, oh, you don't know who you're talking about. These people want to listen to us for like 5 hours, and I don't have the time to edit a 5-hour video. So, you know, but yeah.
The uncut version's on Patreon.
Don't tempt me like that. Don't tempt me like that.
It's free money. No.
No, and like, actually, that actually makes sense going back to the whole Magearna thing. I even wrote it here down because Volcanyon's the only one who knows about Magearna's past at the end of the day. And that gets into a whole complicated thing in and of itself, and we probably spend a lot of time on that. And it's probably about time we properly get into the fall of the monarchy, right? We could kind of gloss over a little bit where it's like, okay, we know the monarchy fell. We know that there were Alolan Meowth, and then they became feral. They didn't become feral and then become Alolan Meowth. They were just very, very spoiled by the monarchy, and then they became this form. But then we have arguably one of the most important pieces of all of this, which ties so much together, Acerola. A long line of royalty comes to an end with Acerola, which is hidden within the games.
Okay, well, we don't know if it comes to an end. Hold up.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
You're saying, right. I don't know.
You're right. Who am I to say that? You're right. So
Acerola is the current living,
the last living member of the monarchy.
Living member of the royal family.
So unless she has a child in her adult
sounds very
years.
Ominous when you say, like, she's the last one.
Let me be dramatic, damn it.
I made sure of it. She's the last one.
That's it. I'm gonna. Anywho.
Acerola isn't gonna be the trial captain for any longer.
But
I made sure of it.
She not only gains her position in the Elite Four and then ends up directly saying, hiya, Acerola here, bringing an old royal touch to the Pokemon League, but we also learn that she stays at the Aether House as an orphan. The Aether House actually describes itself as a place where people and Pokemon huddle together, functioning as an orphanage for both. The headmaster is an Oranguru, funnily enough, and this just kind of made it very clear just how important all this is, since we not only have to go here for completing Mina's trial in the Ultra games, and then we can also find a Zygarde cell here in the original Sun and Moon games. Just really showing to us that, like, hey, you should be aware of this, you should have exposure to this, you should be aware of it. And if we look closer at Acerola, her design, her team actually heavily plays into old or lost ideas, in addition to a castle as her ace Pokemon. And through her clothing, it's actually reminiscent of Mimikyu, who is the totem of her location, and her partner in the anime is Mimikins, matching this like patchwork dress that she has, the patchwork clothing that Mimikyu has. And a tiny detail that really catches my eye is the 4-leaf clover that like accentuates her hair. Like I think it's a metal 4-leaf clover, and it's reminiscent of the Ihilauakea, otherwise in Latin known as the Marsilea villosa, which is a rare endangered fern that resembles a 4-leaf clover. It's found in the crater on the western end of Haname Bay, on Oahu, which, as actually talked about earlier, that would then be Mele. And then Ihilauakea is also the name for the wind that blows across the sea. Now, Oahu, again, represented by Mele, is very strange because we actually have two cemeteries in Alola. Hau'oli for the people of Mele, and then Memorial Hill, which is described as a burial site for the old mighty families of Alola. It is said to have been established at this site due to the proximity of the Ruins of Life to the north, and the belief that being close to those, those being buried here wanted to be laid to rest close to the Akala Island guardian deity Tapu Lele. Being the most notable gravesite in Alola, people from all over the region tend to travel here to see the graves, and some of these people are trainers ready to challenge others like them to battle, which, you know, let's just battle over some graves. That sounds like a really great idea, ultimately. But
that gravesite, if I may interject here, the gravesite, I believe, has the phantoms as well.
Yeah, I think it has the phantoms.
Which has a whole implication, because phantoms, as far as I remember, are dead children.
Yep.
I think.
Yep, children typically lost
and if this is like, and if this is a burial site for those of like royal descent, then, well,
Tapu Koko might have a kill count, and it's not a pretty one.
Yeah, but what happened here?
Yeah.
Why are there so many? God, they keep coming. There's so many children. Yeah, so you can put a connection there.
Yeah, and what I had to question right before we even had our call today, like, what site is her family buried in? Because I'm claiming Howdy, with what evidence we have, people who did not care for nature are buried further away from the ruins then. Plus, we don't see, here's an interesting thing, a Drifloon in Memorial Hill. But we do see one in the Howdy Cemetery, which is a small tie to Acerola's team, where she does have a Drift Blim on it. Now, jumping away from that, you know, when we look at the Clover, maybe it's not as deep as I'm thinking. Maybe it is just a regular good luck charm. But since this is Pokemon, we also know that luck is technically a tangible thing. So, like, is her luck what saved her? Was there something else going on here? I don't really know, and that's kind of that specifically is a dead end until we talk more about her team.
Yeah, I mean, okay, the 4-leaf clover could also be, and this is, again, devil's advocate.
I'm in.
It could also just be her indicating that she is one of the, it's this small hint towards, oh, she's one of the Elite Four, because it's a 4-leaf and one of them's purple, being Ghost. Could be a small hint towards that, but again, I am pretty sure that the other Elite Four members don't have that. So, could just be, yeah, you never know. You never know. It could be anything. It's never fully touched on.
I think if we try to dig, we'll find answers. Is one of those situations where it's like, oh, Toucannon has 3 colors on its beak, and then we have one of the other Elite Four, which has like a motif of 2, or another one that might have a motif of 1, right? So, like, maybe. I'm sure that if we sit down, we could tie it together. If you want to go crazy with it and you really want to stretch it, to try and find it, right? Or, again, playing devil's advocate, which is entirely fair, right? I mean, I could be stretching it by goodness knows how much. It's all fun and speculation. What do golfers say when they, you know, when they're playing? 4. So, yeah, Elite Four. That's it. That's the reaction I wanted. That's the exact reaction I wanted. If we want to go ridiculous with it, then yeah, I think, you know, we can always find answers to something. It's just always a matter of how wild are you trying to be here, yeah.
Right? Like, for example, like, oh, it could be that Olivia, mm-hmm. on her waist, she's got like a rock band. Mm-hmm. How many of those rocks are standing off that are the shape of Z crystals? 4.
And there we go.
This is an indicator that she is part of the Elite Four. On her neck, she's got 5. On her neck, she's got 5 of them. The middle one just stands for the champion.
Yeah, see? There we go.
It's all coming together. It's all
coming together. And like,
you can get your tinfoil hats for 20% off.
We can start selling those.
Yeah, we make millions.
Woo! But no, to reel us both back into something that is probably like a little bit more believable on my side, and what I'm trying to throw here is that we do see another small detail in her original team. In the original games, she did have a Sableye on it, but in the Ultra games, her entire team stays exactly the same, with the exception of the Sableye now being changed into Banette, which that seems a little bit more intentional at the end of the day. You change nothing but one Pokemon, and you just essentially go from a dark ghost type to a ghost type, right? And Sableye,
it's not even the evolution. It's not an evolution of it. They didn't evolve it. They didn't make it stronger. It's just a separate Pokemon.
Yeah. And
Completely.
they both have mega forms, not that she used them, but they both have mega forms. It seems really visually significant. Sableye is a greedy Pokemon. It likes gems. You could try and tie that to the Monarchy if you really want to. Their greed, our claim of industrialization that's happening here, and their greed against nature. Whereas afterwards, after the fall of the Monarchy, we now have Banette, which originally was an abandoned doll, now brought back to life. And effectively, Acerola has been quote-unquote abandoned, now becoming an orphan in her own right. At the very least, even if that is not the case, we can always have fun and say Acerola and Banette are of similar kin, right? They would have become friends no matter what, because they are or were alone at some point in their lives, right? You have an orphan child who wants to, find a connection, find somebody, find love, find that attention, find that parental figure. And Banette, whose parental figure would have been an abandoned doll, their parent, quote unquote, a child growing up into an adult, or just a child that left that doll behind, now brought to life. So you can take it either way, and I think it can be very meaningful. But the strangest, not even strangest, but from Acerola and to everything else, we have one character that kind of connects a lot of it, which is Nanu. He is...
Yeah, Nanu, he's got ties between Team Skull and Acerola, and there's another tie he has, and that's further in the past, and it's with our best friend, our guy, Looker. And that pulls into what happens in the post-game, a little bit post-game, in Sun and Moon, where you hunt down the Ultra Beasts. And Looker does this with you, and he tells you a little about a thing called the Fallers. And Fallers are, well, in the end, we are also a Faller, because Fallers are those who travel through the Ultra Wormholes, and after traveling through them, some lose their memories. Which we also saw with Lucamine's husband. He went through an Ultra Wormhole, landed in the games on Poképolago, and he lost his memories. Not everyone's going to lose their memories, as we obviously haven't, but those who go through the Ultra Wormholes kind of get enveloped in the Z power, which causes Ultra Beasts to be attracted to them, which is why in the past, Nanu, Looker, and I believe the Faller is unknown.
Yeah.
An unknown Faller. They were hunting, I think it was a Guzzlord.
They never say it directly, sure, but it's pretty clear.
Yeah, and they were hunting an Ultra Beast, and this unknown Faller was being used almost as bait for this hunt. And correct me again if I'm wrong.
No, you are 100% correct.
And, because they used this Faller as bait, unfortunately, the Ultra Beast got them, in a sense. They lost their life, and that, I believe, was Nanu's final straw, in a sense, and then he left this...
the International Police.
Yeah, he left the International Police and became kind of the person he is now, and of course, you still see this caring side of him, but I think that's also why he's so shut off now. He still cares for, especially like Acerola. He's her almost adopted father. He takes care of her, but there's definitely this, I think, blame almost. He blames himself for this or something. Yeah, and he broke this tie. That's his past, and he also has ties to Team Skull. You see, he's on the island where Team Skull main base is, and like I just said, Acerola as well.
Yeah, he lets us in to Team Skull's little base. Like when we arrive at Po Town and they lock us out, he's like, "Are you sure you want to go in? All right." And he's the one that opens it. He's the one that lets us in, not Team Skull, which is wild. So he has this connection with Team Skull. He has this checkered past. The anime it takes its creative liberty. And Giovanni even calls him and is like, "Oh, you're just a police? You're a kahuna now? Oh, this is what you're doing with your life? Okay, you should give my boys that are over there, Team Rocket, you should give them the Z crystal. You should just do that for me." And he doesn't say for old time's sake, he doesn't say anything else, but the fact that he called him, asks him to do that is really weird. And
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's so strange. It's nothing is ever done with it ever again. nothing whatsoever. But
that's insane.
and,
that's a wild thing.
And Nanu just keeps going because he's called Uncle by Acerola, and while, like, yes, this is a reference to real life and effectively a Hawaiian way to show respect in a warmer way rather than just calling someone sir or ma'am, we do not see this with other younger characters like Sophocles. So I do think there's some special tie there. I don't think, that he is actually her uncle. I just think that it's a more personal connection than that warmer greeting. And so I really do want to claim that because of his connection with Team Skull, his connection with Acerola, him being forced to become a kahuna, he tried to actually turn down that position. But when you are a kahuna, you're a kahuna for life, and you don't get to choose it. You can try to become one, but the Tapus forced Nanu to become a kahuna, despite him not wanting to be one. And I would like to claim all of these ties kind of bring together, and I think it would be perfect writing-wise, even if it's not true, that Nanu must have served under that old kahuna that the Tapus had destroyed, and had eventually changed his ways, had become part of that international police, and then, again, what Dragon said, we had that big event where we had the we had the lost faller, because of that big event, and then he had to change his life all over again. And this would perfectly parallel this whole idea of, again, the kahuna was under the monarchy, Lusamine, is using Team Skull for her advantage. Nanu would be so involved with all of these different factors, and it would be a kind of nice little bow on top of it all. But as we've kind of said multiple times over, we do have to ask our final question of today. And I know Dragon's has been waiting for this one. I know he's excited for this one. What would have happened if the Tapus failed, right?
Yeah, what would have happened if the Tapus hadn't stopped this development? If the Tapus hadn't stopped this Mega Mart? If they didn't intervene? If they either didn't care enough? If they were stopped by humans? We don't know. But if they had not stopped this Mega Mart, well, there might be a hint towards this already having happened, because if you go through the Ultra Wormholes and you travel through far enough, it's pretty far in the back, it's quite far away from our own reality, you reach a place called the Ultra Ruins. And this place I talk about too many times, but I like it a lot.
How can you not? These are the coolest parts of Alola, Ultra Space.
Yeah, they are. It's really cool. The Ultra Ruins is, in a sense, our reality, but destroyed. The place where we land in through that Ultra Wormhole is Howdy City, but it's destroyed. It's broken. The first person we see outside of the Ultra Wormhole is a guy in a hazmat suit, and he talks a little bit about what happened here. He doesn't know much. He actually isn't part of the generation of people that knew what happened. And in a sense, once we go through a pipe to the right of him, we reach the main city area. Well, really, it's on top of a toppled skyscraper. First off, this is Howdy City. You've walked through Howdy City. Were there skyscrapers? No, there weren't. It is the biggest city in Alola, but there were no skyscrapers. This development didn't happen. Obviously, which obviously means like more development happened here. Either it's a futuristic version and something bad happened, or people developed more and more of the islands. And that is the most likely thing to have happened, because as you go further into these ruins, you can kind of see, first off, you see flyers that are on the table, and I believe these flyers say that people evacuated. And then as you go further in, you see posters as well. And these posters talk about a power plant. Something that is supposed to bring joy to people. It's supposed to generate cheap power to everyone who lives on the islands. But then if you go back to the guy in the hazmat suit, he tells us that the elders, those who experienced whatever happened here, looked upon these posters with disdain. They were not happy with them. Which means something has to have happened with the power plant. Something occurred there. Either A, the power plant exploded. This is the one I used for my first video ever. I talk about how the power plant exploded. It irradiated everything, it destroyed things, it polluted a lot. And that's what destroyed the islands. We see more in the anime as well. In the anime, it's stated that the overdevelopment of these islands, because Ash actually goes to this reality as well with Guzzlord, they state that the overdevelopment of the islands, only the islands, so the rest of the world is fine. What happened is the people were offshored away from Alola, while in the games, they went through the Ultra Wormholes, which means most likely the rest of the world also was affected somehow. But anyway, Ash goes there and they tell him that that Alola was overdeveloped. Again, pulling back to the Thrifty Mega Mart. Something happened. If the Thrifty Mega Mart was able to grow, this corporation of it was able to grow, and we know this from America, Walmart's giant partners. you know what I mean. It's kind of like this.
It's heavy industrialization.
Yeah, heavy industrialization. If the Tapus hadn't stopped them, if the Tapus didn't care enough, if the people were able to continue it on, well, then this reality might have become our reality. Also, we know in the anime that the Tapus actually left the islands. They abandoned the people living there. Maybe that was also previously. Maybe it wasn't just, oh, it became polluted, so they left. Maybe it was, oh, people stopped them from destroying the Mega Mart. They fought against the Tapus, and they left. And then they continued developing, they continued creating, and then the disaster struck, and then the islands were beyond saving. Yeah, we don't know, but I think that's a cool theory to have.
I think I'm with you on it 100%. It's a sad world, because one of the things that stick with me most, and it actually makes me genuinely sad. I'm not playing it up for the camera or like to have fun, but it's just like one of the biggest things that happens in that realm is we are told all blue is gone. The blue of the water, the blue of the sky. There is only one color of blue left, and I can't remember where it is. I don't know if it's one of the flyers or.
There's this electronic sign in the middle of the Ultra Ruins, and it's like it's still powered by the leftover power, and it's the only source of blue left. And this guy in the hazmat suit actually says that. I believe he says that this is what the color of the sky and the ocean used to be, which is horrific, because if the sky and the oceans aren't blue, then they're polluted.
Yeah,
that's pretty bad. If the whole ocean is that color,
it's painful. And I'm very much of the volition that like whatever happened, we know that the Tapus derive their power from nature, which is imbued with ultimate cosmos energy, right? And so if nature's destroyed, Tapus lose their power, they abandon it, right? They can't fight, so they abandon it. And then after all of this, finally we get the entrance of Guzzlord, who is often vilified. I strongly believe that Guzzlord is actually the savior in this case, right?
It's actually pretty, like, very early on. It's obviously it is vilified. It is a monster. Especially in the anime, it is further on vilified. Oh, yeah. Not only because its scream is horrifying, but because when Ash lands in the Ultra Ruins, he gets attacked pretty quickly on by a Guzzlord, and he stands no chance. He stands no chance against this Guzzlord. Not one. And this Guzzlord is feral for trying to, well, kill Ash. It's trying to destroy. The one in the games is a little bit more passive, in a sense, because the person in the hazmat suit, of course, it could just be the crazy ramblings of a man in a hazmat suit, where he calls the Guzzlord, I believe, Mr.
I don't remember, actually.
Mr. Guzzy, Mr. Guzzlord.
You know what? We have the power of the internet. We have the power of the internet. Let's see.
Mr. Glutton.
Mr. Glutton. Okay, there we go.
That's why I remember it's UB05 Glutton. So Mr. Glutton. And in a sense, he views this as maybe because he hasn't seen any other Pokemon, because all the Pokemon are gone, which is another crazy thing. But maybe he just views Mr. Glutton as almost a pet, as someone, as a quote-unquote Pokemon who is trying their best to clean the environment.
Yeah.
which is a pretty stark contrast to the way people viewed Guzzlord in every other situation as a monster. Which means that either, like I said before, all the Pokemon left, so the only thing that's the guy in the hazmat suit knows is this monster who could be a Pokemon, but they've never seen a Pokemon before, who's cleaning, who's removing all the trash, so they view it as a good thing, and they've never seen the actual good thing, so they have nothing to base it off of. Or this Guzzlord is actually used to be doing well. What's funny, actually, is the guy in the hazmat suit also says that there used to be a lot more Guzzlords, but they are dying off now.
Really? I don't think I've heard.
Yeah.
Whoa.
The population is declining, as far as I remember. I could be spelling this wrong, but I do believe that's the case. I've done quite a bit of research on this. I'm going to check one more time, but I do think the Guzzlords are dying off. I have no idea how I'm supposed to find the person.
That's okay. I mean, even if you don't, I mean, I think...
Take everything I say with a grain of salt. No.
Yeah, if we're wrong, I mean, the audience can always correct us. It's as simple as that. Like, we're not sitting here, and that's what I like I actually said before we started our call. Like, I honestly strongly always encourage, like, if there's proper evidence that says anything that agrees with us further or disagrees with something that we say, please do say it. Like, if you have other ideas or other hypotheses, save them in the comments. It's the most fun part about doing this as part of like what we do, I think.
Yeah.
And when we look at Guzzlord, I mean, this is like the final bit. It's really cool to see that the reason why it probably doesn't have waste, why it doesn't produce, it doesn't poop or anything like that, is because it's taking in all these harmful things that have existed in Alola, and it's not returning them back to the world. The water, the mountains, the dirt, everything is consumed by this Pokemon, and then it doesn't.
Which also goes against the laws of physics. It eats, it converts everything to energy, doesn't drop anything, and then it's gone. It's almost like it's a black hole.
Yeah.
It keeps consuming, and it's removing it removes it completely. Nothing's left. Which is good on one hand, it's removing the trash. On the other hand, everything goes. And once it's done, everything is gone and nothing is left. No droppings. Because Krillik can correct me on this because he's more of the animal guy, but I believe that when animals eat stuff, the excrement of the animal brings it back to the world and everything is recycled.
Yeah. 100%.
Guzzlord doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Guzzlord does nothing of that. It eats, it's gone.
Done.
Fully gone.
It's a void in the cycle, because anything that your body doesn't absorb, even like let's say like really fast, let's say for some stupid reason, I don't know, I can't even think of a reason why. Let's say you consume 500% of your vitamin C for the day. I don't know, and your body only uses like 200. I don't know if that would make you sick or die or whatever. I'm not even going to go into that right now. But like, let's say your body doesn't die. You consume 500%. Your body uses 200%. What happens to that rest of the 300%? Well, it's dropped back out. It's thrown somewhere. Well, that's where waste comes in, and now it's being repurposed. Any vitamins, minerals, anything that your body doesn't use or doesn't need and doesn't use is then left behind. And that includes like fats, any other like non-soluble, soluble, so on and so forth, and is used up by other creatures and brought back into the full cycle. Guzzlord does not do that at all. And for better or for worse at that point, because the whole Alolan region, as we then understand, is a cesspool. It's a cesspit of chemicals, not even just waste, but full-on chemicals. Maybe it's forever chemicals, maybe it's whatever else, I don't know. And Dragon, I have one more question for you specifically today, because I want, this was something that I wanted to ask and bring up. What's your favorite Ultra Beast?
Pikachu. No. What's my favorite Ultra Beast? Well, originally I would say the one that's dear to my heart, and that's because it's the first video I've made and really started off my YouTube channel, is Guzzlord. On the other hand, if I think about what Ultra Beast was the one that I liked before that point the most, it's probably it's a strong battle between Buzzwole and Xurkitree. But Buzzwole is fun. I love the Ultra Jungle, and the majority of that comes from the music there. The music there is awesome, the Ultra Jungle music. And Buzzwole's just a fun Pokemon. It's a giant mosquito who sucks things dry. There's a scene in the anime where it sucks Snorlax
Yeah.
just completely dry, and that is probably just the visuals of that are increased just to be funny, but it's straining the Snorlax, everything, the blood, everything inside. It's just deflating it.
1,014 pounds of a Snorlax gone within seconds like a balloon.
Like that is calorie dense. It's bulky, which we could see from its body, because good
God, I love Buzzwole. Like, it's fun because Buzzwole is my favorite. I have a weakness for like the overly showboaty, but not necessarily evil, like superhero-esque like visuals. I love All Might. I love Buzzwole. I think it's fun. Plus, like you said, the actual like really cool stuff behind it is like those extra details. I love it because it's like I'll give you like one little fun fact that I found out while looking into the ecology of it, and I think you've heard me say it before, is that it is likely based off of the zebra mosquito, invasive species. And you look at Ultra Jungle, there's nothing but running water. There's a big river in the middle of it. Mosquitoes don't lay their eggs in running water. The zebra mosquito is one of the only, or if not the only, mosquito that can straight up lay its eggs in running water. And even though we don't see other forms of Buzzwole, I mean, that's an insane little thing.
There's most likely more Buzzwole. The trees are giant, the mosquitoes are giant, everything is giant.
Big.
I think it's just like everything there is big, which makes you think, if a mosquito is that big, if there are other creatures in the Ultra Jungle,
There has to be.
I'm afraid of what they are.
Yeah.
Because if we are a mosquito to a mosquito, then what are we to
any other
whatever is normal size there? And that's pretty scary to think about, because Buzzwole's dex entry already states it's able to destroy a dump truck with a single punch, I believe.
Yeah.
So pretty scary to think about, and good thing that we left after getting a Buzzwole, because I do not want to stick around to what is a bigger thing there.
No. But I think that pretty much clears us up for today. Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about, Dragon?
Yeah, I can plug my channel.
Do it. We have very different content, and there's a chance that like there are people in my audience that do not know. Like there are people who have millions of subscribers and I've never heard of them. So do plug your channel. Do it.
Yeah, no, so I create Pokemon theories. Majority of them are stretching things, and that's on purpose. I take the lore of Pokemon and I divide it. The videos are usually divided into lore sections and theory sections, where I take multiple pieces of lore, like the Sinjo Ruins and Ghetsis, for example, which is the one that's most recent. I don't know if it's the one that's going to be the most recent when the video comes out, but you know what I mean. Yeah. I take Ghetsis, Unova, everything. I connect to the Sinjo Ruins, and I, quote-unquote, weave a story between the different pieces of lore to connect them all. And that's the whole point of my theories, to create this originality through this. And yeah, I enjoy doing this, and a lot of people, maybe even you already, enjoy watching them, to which I am extremely grateful for. So thank you.
Do yourselves a favor if you haven't checked out Dragon's videos. They are fun. They are in depth. They are digging into like the tiniest random details that I even miss. I've spent so much time reading so much on like Pokemon and the real life stuff and the connections and trying to figure out, the lore and natural science of it all. And yet there are things that Dragon still has been able to find that I just haven't. And I think it's amazing, genuinely. Thank you, Dragon, for being here. This has been an absolute treat.
And thank you for inviting me. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I enjoy this.
It was Alola. I think we talked, a few weeks back, and we were just like, yeah, we should probably do something together at some point. And then within a week, I was like, well, I have this thing on my list, and then here's the idea. And then this was originally supposed to be a video just about Mega Magirna and the other like Zeraora and so on and so forth, who got their Megas, and Heatran, who got their Megas in who got their Megas in the Mega Dimension stuff. And then I started to, it just kept snowballing from there. until we reached this point. I dragged Dragon into this, and it became something so much different from what it was, but I'm happy it became what it was. So
it's fun doing something longer. I'm much more used to the videos I do are scripted because I got to get a lot of information punched down into a short section, and so I script them beforehand. Otherwise, I'm just rambling like I do now. And I cut the parts that don't fit for this theory. So let's say I talk about some ruin off in Unova. Well, I will only talk about the parts of this ruin that are relevant to the theory. I'm not going to go about the architecture of the rock or, for example, how Golurk might be related to the ruins, because it makes no sense. It derives from what point I'm actually trying to make, what story I'm trying to create here. So doing this with Krillik here is a lot of fun because I could just tangent whenever I want. He gave me permission.
Yes,
he
express.
Said do it. I can.
The Dragon is the knife. I am the hammer. I'm gonna hit.
Yeah, I cut the cake. I cut the slices, and then he comes in with a hammer and smashes it.
That matches my chaos a little too much. But before we continue rambling, because I know we will, and this was so much fun, as always. Actually, hold on. Actually, should do my normal stuff. If you did enjoy this, please make sure you do subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to Dragon as well if you haven't already. And make sure you leave some comments behind. Not only just letting us know what you thought of the theory, but also anything that you agreed with, disagreed with. Let us know what your favorite Ultra Beast is at the end of the day. It's just so much fun. Also, it helps the algorithm amazingly, of course, alongside the likes, the hypes, the shares, you name it, right? And as always, if you want to become a member, go the extra mile. Just $3 a month, you get extra behind-the-scenes information, or, info on what's going on. You get early access to videos, and, of course, you get members-exclusive videos. But enough of all that, and as always, thank you so much for watching. Don't do anything I want to do. Don't do anything I would do. Please be nice to each other. I love you, and I'll see you next time. Bye!